Welcome back. The Public Interest South Africa wants the Public Protector to investigate whether public procurement rules were breached during the procurement of the IT services by the Office of the Chief Justice. A Sunday Times exclusive revealed that 3 former top officials from the OCJ who were crucial in arranging a 225 million rand tender to multimedia giant Thomson Reuters benefited from the deal. Let's unpack this further with the founder and chairperson at Public Interest South Africa, Tebogo Khaas. Tebogo, good evening. Thank you for coming through to studio and talking to me. So what exactly do you want the Office of the Chief Justice, or the Public Protector rather, to look into? And is there a suggestion that this now transcends what the Office of the Chief Justice can do by way of investigation, such that it should land up with the Public Protector?
Yeah, this is not in any way to impugn the capacity of the Office of the Chief Justice itself to do what they set out to do. That is to take legal advice as well as to do their own investigations. But we felt that it might actually be better if an independent body also looks at what actually happened or is happening, because we have since uncovered quite a few unpleasant things, which they may very well not be in the purview of the Office of the Chief Justice itself when they do their own investigations. And we felt maybe it would be best for another office, an independent office and an independent arbiter, to actually put a spot to shine the light on what we think could very well be happening, because it goes beyond not just the Office of the Chief Justice, but also other support agencies within the state who also have got to do something to do with case lines. Yeah. So it would be better if also it gets to be expanded outside just the confines of the Office of the Chief Justice.
Among the specific allegations you make is that there have been instances where procurement prescripts have been violated, all the way from the Constitution to Treasury regulations and other prescripts, the PFMA, I imagine, also included there. And at the heart of that allegation is this procurement via what they're calling single source procurement processes. Explain what exactly about this process doesn't measure up with the prescripts we've set in place for ourselves.
Yeah, all of it starts on Section 217 of the Constitution, which enjoins organs of state to actually procure using competitive, open, transparent, competitive methods. In other words, you open it up to the public to come and bid and compete for the service or the product that they want to supply the state. In the event that you find that there's nobody, this is something unique or novel, you can't then suddenly open it because there's nobody else to compete. So you start negotiating. So it becomes a confined type of procurement event. So it's a single source, a single supplier. So you negotiate with them, and then they provide you with the goods and services. As it so happened, and it only took us less than 30 minutes. For 30 minutes, actually, I think I'm actually exaggerating it, probably half of that, for us to actually do desktop searches and realize that actually there's more than 20 other competitors to case lines available. So there's nothing unique about case lines. There's nothing that other people couldn't come and compete with case lines for in this instance. And why did the officials in the Office of the Chief Justice elect not to open it up and use the confined, the single source type of procurement process? Baffles us. So somebody has to answer to us why. Because then it might very well be if the pricing that the Department of Justice would end up paying, or the Office of the Chief Justice would end up paying, could very well be much more than what they could have actually bargained for. So that is something that is telling, and that is at the root of all this.
So I'm hearing you better now that you are saying it out loud, better than I was understanding your contentions on the papers, on the at least on the statement. You are saying that this is exactly the kind of service that the relevant section 217 of the Constitution had in mind when it talked about the procurement processes being fair and open, etc., in that there's nothing unique about case lines, regardless of the fact that, you know, Gauteng had already started using it, the Gauteng division of the High Court. Nothing stopped the Office of the Chief Justice from exploring the market, and the market is ripe with competitors who could have come in cheaper.
Yeah. In fact,
possibly.
What often happens is that you go on an RFI, request for information. In other words, you open it up, we want information. People in this space, come and tell us what you can provide. And then you look at it, and then you can then say, okay, these are the available potential suppliers. Then you're going to invite them. So you're going to RFP, request for proposals. You know, so there are various steps that you need to be taking. But what is quite damning about this whole thing is an indictment on government. Is that you don't wake up one morning and say we want a solution to help manage the court filing systems and processing of cases. You know this years ahead. What stopped government from looking inside this country to identify companies that could very well be able in a position to either upscale or already have ready-made products that they can actually offer or build? Because that shows that you've got confidence in your own abilities. Because we do have capability within the country to actually build, if not already, those type of systems. Yeah. So that for me is a quite worrisome approach.
So the Office of the Chief Justice, the response comes and says they are undertaking to investigate and getting legal advice on this procurement process. They own up to the role of these 3 former officials, and that's where they leave things, that they're going to check on what happened and do an investigation. You are saying that's not good enough? That's not good enough. In fact, because even if you look at the officials themselves, they're trying so very hard to absolve themselves and say, look, we've never spoken to Thomson Reuters about subcontracting, not even a word until we left. But the day after we left, we found ourselves subcontracting to Thomson's without ever negotiating with them. Really? Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense. They couldn't have just woken up within 24 hours to have clinched a deal to subcontract. It means they were talking to Thomson's before they actually, while they were still adjudicating, or even before they even awarded. Because even if you look how they actually awarded it, this type of contracts where it's valued over 30 million rands, the procurement regulations, preferential procurement policy, actually enjoins them to actually tell the bidders that they must set aside 30% to subcontracting. So they ought to have alerted Thomson beforehand. And Thomson itself, they say, we didn't know until a week before we were awarded. So you can see that somebody was actually trying to create an emergency and therefore force Thomson to have a narrow selection pool. So you've dealt with the response from one of the officials there, Nathi Mncube, quoted in my broadband, who says, we did not approve the Thomson Reuters main tender as we had no authority to do so. You've dealt with that. But I'm just wondering also, one of the other explanations that Mncube is quoted as having given to this publication, My Broadband, is that, quote unquote, in terms of Regulation 18 of the Public Service Regulations 2016, all strategic management services members are required to disclose their financial interests to their relevant head of department not later than 30 April of each year, basically saying that there was nothing wrong with them as, employees of an organ of state having this company and having this business interest.
I think I've seen that attempted rebuttal from Mr. Mncube. And so what? You declare that you've got a shelf company. Obviously, there's nothing, there's no activity, there's no money. But all they knew, you can see that they were actually setting themselves for this eventuality. Because they would have known that if we declare come April that this thing's not making any money, it will start making money from the 1st of June. So what? It's neither here nor there. But the crux of the matter is the fact that they planned this ahead of time, the 3 of them, to say we are going to jump ship and this is our lifeboat and this is a parachute or a javelin that we must throw, we'll catch it that other side. And that's precisely what happened.
So what are you doing to operationalize your desire to have the Office of the Public Protector moving with speed in getting involved with this investigation?
Look, we've only had an acknowledgement of receipt from the Office of the Public Protector. We still are not sure if they'll have an appetite to say this is something that we should be doing, but we believe that's the right place to knock. But also the SIU, that's something that also, but the SIU, you know how it works through proclamations by the President. So we're making a multifaceted type of approach. We've also approached the Presidency to say, you need to take heed of what is going on, because this transcends just the Office of the Chief Justice. It also goes to other state agencies, including CETA and others who are involved in the pilot project. Yeah. And we're saying this is something that needs attention by the President.
Lastly, how should the Chief Justice himself be playing this one out, given his standing and us knowing what he stands for and the work that he has done around areas of corruption and state capture in this country?
Yeah, look, the Chief Justice deserves none of this embarrassment, quite honestly. And I think there's a conflation somewhere. We often think that he's responsible for making those type of procurement decisions in the OCG, which is not the case. The OCG is a department on its own. It's got a general secretary who runs the day-to-day running, the operations of the Office of the Chief Justice. So it is just that it borrows the name from the Chief Justice, because he's got overall authority of that and other courts, superior courts in the country. So it is quite, it's an embarrassment, it's quite sad, but it's not a reflection on the capabilities or the character or even the integrity of the Chief Justice himself, who has acquitted himself very well.
Yeah, but at the very least, he could stamp his authority and say, I insist that this should be investigated and transparently and with speed.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what we're hoping. We're hoping there'll be speed, and to the extent that they haven't committed or undertaken to say this is how long they'll take before they actually release the funding of their investigations. It's worrisome for us, which is why we actually even went to the Public Protector, because we believe that we don't have control over that, but we hope that they'll do it as soon as possible.
Tebogo, thank you for coming through. Tebogo Khaas, he is the chairperson and founder of Public Interest South Africa, weighing in there on that situation at the Office of the Chief Justice, that tender that is in question at the moment.